takes the toss and declines the kick. They're gonna save it for the second half.
It already broke.
They'll be kicking to the south end zone. Walton's gonna get the ball first.
From the campus of Walton High School in Marietta, Georgia, it's another night of high school football here on the Play On High School Sports Network. Or should I say, it's no ordinary night, because tonight is the kickoff of our first-round coverage of the Georgia High School Association's football tournament, where tonight 192 teams begin the dream of hoisting the Silver Cup at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, and only 7 will be crowned the state champions. Tonight on the Play On High School Sports Network, it's one team with championship pedigree going up against another team that just last year was in the state title game, as the Walton Raiders host the Parkview Panthers. And hello again, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the Play On High School Sports Network, and as always, here with a play-by-play story, I'm Chris Mooningham. What a very intriguing matchup tonight at Raider Valley in Marietta. Perhaps we have the marquee game of the night in Marietta. The marquee game in the 6A classification. Two very even teams that know a little bit about playoff success and potential and future and past championships. Let's get right into the setup for tonight's ball game. We'll first start, as always, with the visitors from Parkview. They come into this ball game at 7-3 overall, 6-2. They finished inside of Region 8, a very competitive Region 8, where they finished in third place, and as you know, the third seed in the state tournament. As for Walton, they come into this ball game at 7-3 overall as well. They finished at 5-2 inside of a very tough Region 5, where they finished in second place, just behind number 1 ranked Lassiter. Parkview, they're led by head coach Cecil Flo, now in his 20th season, where here in 2010 they're outscoring their opponents 199-123. That's an average of 20-13 per ball game. Coach Flo in his 20th season, as I mentioned, with a career record, I have to read it twice, at 192-59 for Coach Flo in his 20 years under the Parkview as the leader of the Parkview Panthers. These statistics for Coach Flo and his team are quite staggering. He, of course, has led this program to 4 state championships, 2 other state championship games. There are 4 title wins coming in 97 and 2000 through 2002. He's averaged 9.6 wins per season. As for Walton, they're outscoring their opponents so far this year, 239-217. That's 24-22 per ball game. Rocky Hidalgo is their leader on the field in his 4th season, a 34-12 record at the helm of the Raiders. We're about ready to get things underway here in Marietta. The winner of this one tonight faces West Forsyth or Collins Hill in the state quarterfinals, or the second round of the state playoffs, pardon me. It'll be cold tonight, but expect the action to be furious, intense, very quick, very, very physical, and the crowd will certainly be alive tonight. And we're underway in Marietta. A high end-over-end kick taken right at about the 5-yard line. To the 10, coming near side. This is DJ Smith to the 20 and the 25. DJ looking for the 30-yard line, and he's dragged down just across it at about the 32. Now time to take a look at the offensive starters for Walton. They'll come out in a pro-eye set with Brandon Cablano, Luke Hendon, Griffin Wilkinson, Eric Smith, and Joe Cook on the offensive line. 4 seniors and a sophomore leading the Walton Raiders on the offensive line. We'll get into more depth into those young men as we move along. They'll be led on the field by their senior quarterback leader, Parker McLeod. McLeod is a verbal commit, number 12 there. You see him on your screen, to the University of Alabama. Parker, a right-hander, 6'2", 200 pounds. Man goes in motion. He'll take the snap, hand off to DJ Smith. And DJ right back to the line of scrimmage, it looks like. DJ Smith, 5'11", 175, the junior running back who has taken over for All-World Tyron Jones. Most of you know the story. We'll get into it in more depth, the absence of Tyron Jones and what that means to this team as we make our way through the ball game. DJ talking to teams like Florida, Georgia, Vandy, South Carolina, Michigan State, and Nebraska, as he still has a full season of high school football to play. His fullback tonight will be Henry Rowling, the junior, number 30. He stands beside McLeod in the shotgun. Parker going to take the snap. And look, right-hander Coxon fires and caught. Beautiful pitch and grab. Close to the 40-yard line on the reception is Brad Green. Green, a senior tight end. The rest of the skill players for Walton offensively, Ryan Craig, the senior wide receiver who was questionable at the start of this one. Stone Romberg, a senior wide receiver as well. Going to bring up 3rd and 3. Smith in the backfield, offset. Man goes in motion, Maurice Gibson. Hand off to DJ, who heads right up the middle, and it looks like he's got the first down by about a yard, but the ball comes popping loose. Parkview celebrating, and they do indeed have the loose ball fumble recovery. The Parkview defense, whom I wasn't even able to introduce, comes up with a big turnover early in the first-round playoff ball game. Well, in a matchup between two very evenly matched ball clubs, two teams that have been battling injury, that have been at times inconsistent this year. Let's mark that on our stat sheet as a fumble here early and remember this point in the ball game. The first turnover goes to Walton at 10:25, and now the Parkview offense comes out for their first opportunity tonight, led by Mac Marshall, the quarterback, who will toss it back to Justice Rosser. Going to the far side, he's got the 35-yard line and a first down as well. That's actually Shaq Vereen on the carry. Shaq Vereen, number 6, the senior, at 6'1", 185. Parkview offensive starters on the line. Ronnie Bailey, Freddie Hart, Blake Dunham, Trey Duroween, and Trey Malloy. Skill players, Mac Marshall at quarterback. We'll talk a lot about Mac tonight. He's got Rosser in the backfield. Brandon Sullivan is the fullback, along with Keanu Mole, G.G. Robinson, and Larry Ville, the skill players, the wide receivers. And a false start. First flag of the evening, so we're two minutes into this one. And we see Chip Huffman, our man in the white hat tonight, going to direct play on the field. We've already seen a turnover and a penalty. Defensive starters now for Walton. They'll run a 3-4 offense. They're quick and they're aggressive. They're opportunistic. Dreon Williams, the junior defensive end. Sebastian Cavallo is the nose guard. Kyle Whitaker, the other defensive end. Very good linebacker core. Snap. Rosser, Justice. Smothered under right about the line of scrimmage. Might have gotten about a half yard. Jordan Davenport, Ridge Gibson, Jordan Voster, Blake Mons. That's your 4 linebackers for Walton in this ball game. Secondary men, Taquan Stewart, the sophomore at cornerback. They really like Taquan. He's got great speed at just 5'9", 175, and again a sophomore. Justice Bailey, Colby Billings, that's your 2 safeties. And then DJ Smith will see double duty at cornerback and running back. Shows blitz, pull back, pass into the turf. That is not Mac Marshall's forte, throwing the football, I mean. He's a good running quarterback. He's a sharp kid. He's terribly athletic. Very good baseball player, by the way. That might be his future at the next level. They're trying to work on his decision-making ability and his accuracy. Got a good, strong arm. As I mentioned, he's a pitcher for the baseball team. He's a 2-time state champion for the Parkview baseball team. And now 3rd and 5. We're just underway here in Marietta. If you're just tuning in, closing in on the 9-minute mark. First quarter, no score. 1 turnover for Walton on their opening drive. Marshall, the left-hander, backpedaling, being chased. Flush near side, tries to throw it away, finds a receiver, and it's incomplete. Boy, he had Mole for just a moment, and there's a flag down on the play, by the way.
Penalty marker down.
Saw a lot of hand fighting going on between the wide receiver and the cornerback. They're going to call an ineligible receiver downfield. That's bound to happen as Marshall as much as Marshall was scrambling on that play.
4th down, 15. Stone Romberg, DJ Smith back. Deep to receive the punt.
So Walton, a turnover on their opening possession. Parkview stalls on theirs. And the Raiders going to get it back. Got Romberg and Smith standing back at the 10-yard line. Not a bad kick. Going to take a hop at the 6. And eventually go into the end zone for the touchback. Now let's take a look at the Parkview defense, whom we were not able to, as quick as that opening drive went for Walton, on the line. Again, they're a 3-4 defense as well, Parkview is. So you would expect in this ball game, defensively for both teams, you're going to see a slew of very good linebackers. And indeed you will tonight. 8 very good linebackers for both teams. On the line for Parkview, you've got Brian Chapman, the senior defensive end. Sam Willis, the senior nose tackle, a very, very tough kid. Hunter Thornton, a senior defensive end as well. The linebackers of Kyle Williams, one of the best in the state. John Patterson, Micah Finley, also a very good player, and Nick Lawson. In the secondary, it's Keanu Mole, Rob Youngblood, Shaq Vereen, and Bryce Lewis. The defensive side of the football, the strength of the Parkview Panthers. McLeod going to hand to DJ Smith. DJ trying to weave his way in and out of traffic. Close to the 24-yard line. We'll wait and see where they spot him officially. Interesting storylines abound for both programs here in this ball game. Both teams have been hurt seriously by injury, especially Walton. This is a team that sports on their roster one of the best running backs in the entire nation, Tyron Jones. And just a couple of weeks ago against Etowah, we saw him go down with a knee injury, an MCL sprain that'll cost him most likely the rest of his senior season. They might see him if they get to the state championship game. DJ gets the handoff again. And it looks like they'll spot him at about the 27-yard line. DJ Smith came in for Tyron in that ball game against Etowah and had right around 200 yards of total offense and an interception defensively in that ball game. I was lucky enough to call that ball game, and it was a very somber atmosphere here at Raider Valley when Tyron went down. They won that ball game versus Etowah, keeping their hopes alive for second place in the region. And DJ Smith was literally the star of the ball game. Had 3 touchdowns in that game. Parker puts a man in motion, 3rd and short. Call it 3. The give goes to DJ, and he's smothered under, shy of the line of scrimmage. So 3 and out again for Walton.
DJ Smith brought down by Justice Rosser. He's going to be
closing in on the 7-minute mark. First quarter, so very early here, and both teams' defenses have really settled in. Same sort of situation for Parkview offensively, by the way. They are without their star running back, kid by the name of Chris Carson. If you're not familiar, Chris, a dynamic player with over 1,100 yards of rushing production so far this year, and he'll miss the rest of the season as well. Fair catch called and made by Mac Marshall just past the 40-yard line. That's how good an athlete Mac Marshall is, the quarterback. He'll take the punts, receive the punts as well. That's not the only big-time injury situation for Parkview this season, however. Mac Marshall's their second quarterback. Rob Youngblood was the starting quarterback. He was injured around mid-season, maybe just a tad bit before, and Mac Marshall took over for this club. Ironically, I called the first game after the injury to Youngblood as well, and Mac Marshall was arguably the star of that game in fill-in duty. Toss back to Justice Rosser, the man who has filled in for the aforementioned Chris Carson. A lot of offensive weapons for Parkview. But their offense has not been terribly productive so far this year, as I mentioned, averaging just 20 points per ball game. Good deal of running so far in this ball game, so the clock continues to tick away. Far side. Down the far sideline, looks like about a 9-yard gain for Rosser.
On the pitch again. DeQuar Stewart makes the tackle. Marine close to a first down. Ball right at the 50.
If you can pick up the audio, by the way, of the PA announcer here at Raider Valley. Number 4, who you see heading off the field over there, that is, in fact, Justice Rosser. Shaq Vereen now into the ball game. Number 6. Want to make sure we clarify that if you're watching at home. Shaq Vereen, number 6. Justice Rosser, number 4. It takes 2 guys to fill the shoes of Chris Carson, 3rd and short. Far side. Bounces through the 2 gap, or the 4 gap if you prefer. And a first down for Vereen and Parkview. Gibson in on the tackle. Haven't seen Brandon Sullivan carry the football here early for Parkview. They got a big fullback named Brandon Sullivan, a junior at 6 foot 230. He's all man. Won't see Parkview pass the ball too much in this ball game. They only have, get this stat, only 400 total yards receiving as a team this year. Yet right around 2,000 rushing. Handoff. Rosser back in the ball game, and Justice about a 2-yard gain. Nope, pardon me. That time it is Vereen. Must have pulled Rosser back off the field. I saw Justin coming in there. There he is. Number 4 snapping on his helmet and coming back out onto the field. Talked about their receivers, but they've got good ones. G.G. Robinson, a sophomore who they absolutely love, a tight end / wide receiver at 6'3", 260, a sophomore. He's coming down here near side. And this is going to be offsides or a false start. Could be a big call on a 2nd and 8. Chip Huffman says false start. So back up Parkview 5 yards. Again, thanks for joining us here on the Play On High School Sports Network. Make sure to join the conversation tonight about high school sports. Follow Play On Sports on Facebook and Twitter. You can do it at Play On Sports Play On Sports hashtag GHSA Football. Or playonsports.com/football playoffs. Snap. Rosser. Justice on that wild Panther type play. Looks like they're going to spot him for about a yard, and it's going to bring up 3rd and long. And this has been a bit of a bugaboo for Parkview all year long. On 3rd and long, what sort of play can they dial up? Seen Parkview a couple of times so far this year against Acula and Brookwood. And passing at times successful, but for the most part inconsistent. Big play here early in the ball game. Inside 3.5 minutes left, first quarter. Left-hander going to float one across the middle of the field, and that's a dangerous pass and intercepted. Going back to the far side and wrestled down at the 40-yard line.
The ball is picked off by number 19, DeQuar Stewart.
It's DeQuar Stewart, the sophomore, on the interception. Mentioned how big of fans they are of DeQuar Stewart in the opener. The sophomore at 5'9", 175 has the 2nd turnover of the ball game. The first time the turnover has occurred for the men in white and orange. So 1 turnover apiece. Four wide receivers now for Parker McLeod, the future Crimson Tide player. Right-hander, going to move the pocket, come near side, fire one down here where he's got a wide receiver. I believe that's Craig. Craig at the 30, tries to cut back inside and has a tackler come up from behind him and bring him down inside the 25-yard line. In fact, it is Ryan Craig, the senior at 5'9", 170. Little scat back type player, a burner to say the least. Good hands for Ryan Craig.
40-yard gain on the play.
A 40-yard pass and catch from McLeod to Craig. Official's going to stop this one dead here as we've got a little bit of a scoreboard malfunction now. So hang tight with us. About 3 minutes left in this one in the first quarter, that is. Chip Huffman going to call an official's timeout. Again, thanks for joining us here on the Play On High School Sports Network.
Temporary scoreboard malfunction. We're back and running with folks.
Right around 30 games this evening on the Play On High School Sports Network. From Brunswick to Albany and Augusta to Ringgold. DJ Smith, right side, finds some daylight, 20, 15. DJ Smith, 10-5, touchdown. Walton has scored at 2:41 on a 25-yard touchdown run by DJ Smith. Mark it at 31 to be precise. Extra point on the way, and good. Anthony Price drills home the extra point. The senior puts his team up 7-0. Boy, how good has DJ Smith been over the last 3 weeks since filling in for the injured Tyron Jones. And at 2:41 in the first quarter, Walton leads 7-0.
Anthony Price on for the kickoff. Back deep for Parkview, Keanu Mold.
DJ, not the biggest kid, doesn't need a lot of daylight to get in between those big offensive linemen. He does such a great job. He's got such a good offensive line. You saw him start to the right side behind Eric Smith and Griffin Wilkinson, and then cut back to the left where he had Cablano blowing out a linebacker, and he was able to score. Here's Justice Rosser, who's becoming their all-everything, kind of like DJ Smith is for the other side. Over the 20-yard line, that's where Parkview will start things.
Ball placed at 22.5. First down for Parkview.
Always interesting when the Panthers fall behind in a ball game by a score early. Marshall, left-hander, going to fire. A little quick fire to a wide receiver. I'd expect to see a good deal of this tonight. You saw the interception by Mack earlier. That's the thing they're trying to keep him from doing. When he's gotten in trouble, that was his third interception of the year, by the way. Now Mack Marshall with as many interceptions as touchdowns, 3 and 3. And when Mack has gotten in trouble so far this year, it's been when he's been floating balls and giving defensive backs the opportunity to get underneath them. That's why they want to have a lot of quick fires for Mack. Have a guy run a little skinny post. Now he's floating another one out there. Deeper, and picked off on the ricochet. Intercepted by Walton again, and this is exactly what Parkview did not need. This time, it's the safety, Colby Billings, the senior.
Interception number 2 for Youngblood. There's a flag on the play, though, folks. Field for Parkview. There's a face mask against Parkview in the backfield. It's declined, and it's Raider first down. The ball at the 47 of Parkview.
So a first down now for Walton at 1:45 first quarter from the 47-yard line. They'll start in Parkview territory with a loaded line, and now a man in motion. Parker takes the snap, hand off to DJ. Smith coming left side behind the big back end of Brandon Cablano, and he's got about a 3-yard gain. Spot him at the 44.
Bradley Davis makes the stop.
Davis in on the stop there. So 2 turnovers forced by Walton, 1 turnover forced by Parkview. Boy, oh boy, we thought we might be in for a wild one tonight. We're not even at the end of the first frame here in Marietta, and we've got 3 turnovers. 2 receivers near side. Parker looking that way. Going to fire. Caught. Craig had it for a moment, that is, and then he was absolutely rocked by a defensive back. Bryce Lewis, who's known for doing that a little bit. The junior, 6'1", 175. Parkview finishing in 3rd in the region, as we mentioned, behind 7-1 Grayson and 7-1 South Gwinnett. Those are your region records, that is. Parkview was 6-2 in the region, Region 8. Brookwood took the final playoff spot, the number 4 spot in that region at 5-3. This the only team, Parkview I mean, the only team to beat Grayson and Robert Kimdichie so far this year, and a timeout called on the field. Panthers going to use their first timeout of the half at 1:01 in the first quarter. Parkview defeated Grayson 22-7 in a game where they forced 4 turnovers, and really that was the difference because it gave them more of an opportunity offensively to get that run game going, and they were pretty productive even against a great Grayson defense. They were awfully productive. They were able to take advantage of those extra opportunities of the turnovers and beat Grayson. Of course, since then, Grayson's been routing every opponent they've faced. I think they've won by an average of 50-6 per ball game. But the point remains that Parkview kept them from an undefeated record and made things interesting. But Parkview gave up 2 games late in the season to opponents whom they probably should have defeated, or at least maybe Central Gwinnett. They lost in triple overtime to Central Gwinnett in a game where they trailed 17-7 late. Came back to tie the lead, or tie the ball game, then take the lead late, gave up that lead, and lost in triple overtime. They lost their season finale to South Gwinnett. That's the reason they're playing this game here tonight. That was essentially a game for the number 2 seed in the season finale. They lost 16-14 to the Comets. Comets went to 7-1 and took the number 2 seed in the region. Parker smothered over and sacked. We got a flag down on this play. Expect this to potentially be a holding call on Walton. Right in that area where you usually see it. Chip Huffman going to step out from the crowd. The man in the white hat says, indeed, it is a holding on the men in blue. As for Walton, last year's team in 2011 was 14-1. That lone loss, of course, to Grayson in the state championship game. And I mean, they routed just about every opponent they faced last year. Their closest games started in the state quarterfinals last year. And they had a lot of the same players back. They lost the Blaylock twins coming into this year. There's 2 fine secondary men. And it has affected their defense a bit. They also lost their defensive coordinator off of that squad from last year, Chuck Goddard. Now the head coach over at East Paulding. But Chris Stewart's come in from Sprayberry, taking over the defensive reins, and they've had a fair defensive season, but boy, they've been obliterated by injury. Fair catch called and made at the 20.
Right at the 21.
That's where Parkview will start. But so far this year, again, the season synopsis for Walton. They finished at 5-2, second place in the region, 7-3 overall. Lost to Lassiter, lost to North Cobb, and lost to Roswell. Hard to blame them for losing that season finale to Roswell. Boy, they were just so tired, you have to imagine. At one point, they were without probably 8 of their top 12 players on the roster. Handoff. This is Mole, I believe. Keanu going to the far side. And he may have about a 7-yard gain. Walton players jumping around over on that side saying that they have the football. We're waiting for an official call, and yes, indeed, they do. The Raiders have possession. It's the third turnover of the first quarter, coming at 9 seconds left in the opening stanza in Marietta. The third turnover for Parkview, and Walton's got it back deep in Panther territory.
Three turnovers now for this Walton defense.
My goodness gracious. Twice, Walton has come away with an interception so far in this quarter, and now a fumble recovery. The Raiders going to use a timeout here. Their first of the half. 9.5 left in the first quarter to be precise here at Raider Valley in Marietta. Again, right around 30 games taking place on the Play On High School Sports Network from around the state. Whether you're in Ringgold or Augusta, you can join the conversation about high school sports. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Play On Sports, hashtag GHSA Football. Now I wonder, been given the signal here that Parker McLeod may be coming out of this ball game. Is Lucas Arnold coming into this ball game to take over for Parker McLeod? Parker McLeod, the all-state type performing quarterback, has been banged up all year long. Price Wilson came in to fill in for him over the last few ball games. And now that young man is hurt as well, just in time for Parker to come back. Looks like he's going to come over to the sidelines. He's not coming out of the ball game. He's getting the signals from his head coach. Well, with that, we go to the first quarter break. Rocky Hidalgo with an arm around his fill-in quarterback. We're going to take a quick break here with the audio feed on the Play On High School Sports Network, and we'll do what we can at the first quarter break to try to find out the developing story on the Walton All-State type quarterback when we come back on the Play On High School Sports Network. 7-0, Walton out in front. Back at Raider Valley here in Marietta. Thank you for staying with us here on the Play On High School Sports Network. And we open or reopen our covers depending on what you've seen tonight with a penalty. Offsides on the defense for Walton. One of the few mistakes that the Walton defense has made. If you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us here on the Play On High School Sports Network. I'm Chris Mooneyham with a play-by-play story here from Raider Valley in Marietta. It's number 2 seed Walton, the Raiders at 7-3, and the number 3 seed Parkview Panthers also 7-3. A 7-0 ball game here in second quarter action. Closing in on 8.5 minutes left in this first half.
Marshall the handoff to Rosser.
The beauty of what we do here on the Play On High School Sports Network is that we have the capability of bringing you 30-plus ball games from around the state as far as the high school playoffs go, but with that technology, of course, sometimes we run into some problems. So for those of you that have been trying to pull up the broadcast tonight. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for staying with us. And now we should be ready to go the rest of the night. It has been an entertaining first quarter and a half with a man in motion. Mac Marshall going to hand off to Rosser, I believe, or is this Mole? Either way, he's breaking down towards the midfield stripe, and a big gainer.
The give to Shaq Vereen.
It's actually Shaq Vereen. Shaq Vereen pushed out of bounds over the midfield stripe. So again, if you're just tuning in the first quarter, we had 4 turnovers between the two teams. Walton recovered a fumble on Parkview's opening drive, Walton fumbled on their opening drive, and Parkview recovered. But on that drive, subsequent drive for Parkview, they were stopped 3 and out. Walton then came back with an interception that led to a 31-yard touchdown run by DJ Smith, and that put Walton up 7-0. Carry near side, and Vereen looks like he's got about the 43-yard line. And then on consecutive drives since the DJ Smith touchdown put Walton up 7-0, 2 consecutive Parkview drives have ended in turnovers. An interception by Colby Billings and a fumble recovery by Walton as well. So 3 turnovers for Parkview in the first quarter, 1 turnover for Walton. Parkview now driving. This has been their most substantial drive of the ball game so far, trying to tie this. Ball on the turf.
Ball on the ground.
Quarterback falls on top of it.
Mac Marshall. Loss of 2. It's going to be 3rd down and 9 for Parkview.
Now that our games are coming up from around the state, you're able to enjoy first-round coverage of the GHSA Tommy Guillebeau State Championships. Make sure you join the conversation about high school sports. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at PlayOnSports, #GHSA Football. Marshall fakes, fires, got his man caught. That may be G.G. Robinson, and it is. The big sophomore. If you see 85 on your screen and you're thinking, boy, that's a big kid. Well, you're right. Let me pull up the numbers on big G.G. Robinson to be specific. 6'3", 260. I was talking to cameraman Todd Edwards before the ball game. I said, Todd, watch out for this kid, 85, G.G. Robinson. He's 6'3", 260, a tight end wide receiver. Todd just shook his head at me. I paused and said, and guess what? He's a sophomore. So there's your future for the Parkview Panthers.
4th and 3 for Parkview.
Vereen heads off. Big play here. They're going for it on 4th down. They've got Sullivan, the fullback, in the backfield. And Rosser, number 4, was the furthest back. Will have a timeout called on the field. And Parkview going to think about it. Panthers use their second timeout of the first half. Remember to stay tuned at the half for all the pageantry that is high school sports, and especially high school football. And you know what? I'll take it one notch higher. The pageantry of high school football playoffs in the state of Georgia at the half. Always some sort of festivities going on the field here in Marietta. So bands and fans, stay tuned at the half. Bands and fans here. We'll keep the live video stream going, the visual stream going. We'll pull down the audio. Let me take a break. 4th down. Rosser fakes the snap, fakes the handoff, keeps it himself, and the Walton defense collapses on him. This could be close. It looks on the initial spot that he'll be about a yard, maybe a half yard shy, and indeed he is. Walton's defense stiffens on a big 4th down play.
And that one's over on downs.
Well, you didn't have to be a high school football expert in this state to know that defense was going to be the story tonight. And it's been just that so far in this first half. Just a couple of really tremendous plays offensively in this ballgame. Really just three. A couple of big runs by Walton, or rather a couple of big runs in the ballgame. One by Walton, one by Parkview, and then a very nice big gainer from McLeod to Craig about halfway through the first quarter for Walton. And I bet between those three plays, that'll make up 3/4 of all the offense for the two teams. We're sitting at 6:18 second quarter here at Raider Valley in Marietta. Amy Walker flipping the switches for us tonight. The Play on High School Sports Network. Todd Edwards running the camera for us. I'm Chris Mooneyham. Again, thanks for joining us. For those of you that love the first 2 days of the NCAA basketball tournament, boy, Friday night in the opening round of the Georgia High School Football Playoffs, a lot like that, because you can flip from game to game to game here on the Play on High School Sports Network. Of course, I don't recommend that. I think you should stay here with us. We got the best game of the night. Man in motion. Parker takes the snap. Give to Smith. DJ, you see, he just needs a little bit of daylight, and he slipped there. Got about a 3, maybe a 4-yard gain. Yeah, we'll call it 3. Winner of this one faces West Forsyth and Collins Hill, in the second round of the state tournament. On this side of the bracket, McEachern and Colquitt at the top. The winner of that one will face either Alcovey or Trey Matthews and the Noonan Cougars. And a whistle blows this play dead.
Dead ball, penalty, motion, good call.
Yep, false start. Back them up 5 more. Going to be second and long. Yeah, this is a very interesting portion of the bracket of the 32 in the state's largest classification. McEachern, Colquitt, Noonan, Alcovey, West Forsyth, Collins Hill, and Walton Parkview. Colquitt may be the best number 4 seed in the history of this state's tournament. How do you go 8-2 in the regular season and you get the number 4 seed out of your region? Well, when you got Valdosta down in that region, Camden County, and teams like that. Second and 12. Parker going to hand to Smith. DJ gets away from the initial tackler and then tripped up a little bit. And that'll bring up a 3rd and 9. Want to go through these starters again here for both teams as we move through this thing before we get to the end of the first half, as we had problems with our live streaming feed. Again, thanks for joining us. If you've been with us all night or trying to be with us all night, thanks for staying with us. The Walton offense led by Brendan Cablano, Luke Hendon, Griffin Wilkinson, Eric Smith, and Joe Cook on the offensive line. Parker McLeod, their quarterback. He's been out for a couple of plays in this ballgame tonight. DJ Smith and Henry Rowling in the backfield. And then Ryan Craig and Stone Romberg, the top 2 wide receivers for this team. Another flag and a delay on Walton. Boy, oh boy. Defensively for Parkview, out of a 3-4, Brian Chapman, Sam Willis, and Hunter Thornton on the line. Very good linebacker core, just like Walton. They've got Nick Lawson, Micah Finley, John Patterson, and Kyle Williams. And also a very good secondary, Bryce Lewis and Keanu Mole on the corners. Rob Youngblood and Shaq Vereen, your safety men. Parkview lives and dies by their defense. Parker in the shotgun on 3rd and long. Going to fire a little quick fire out to Craig. Craig trying to make a couple of moves, get between 2 defenders. Gets past the initial guy, but finally wrestled down at about the 42.5-yard line, and a man down on the field as well. Good pitch and catch on the quick fire. Trying to let Craig get loose in the middle of the field. He did for at least a moment, and he gets most of the yardage back, but it'll bring up a fourth down play. And Trent Wirtz, the senior, coming on to punt it away. Clock continuing to roll now, under 4 minutes left in the first half. Wirtz, the left footer, puts a spinning top up there that bounces backwards. Walton doesn't want that, and quickly a coverage man gets on top of it and stops it at the 40. So Parkview coming back out on offense.
40-yard line, 21-yard punt for Wirtz.
Where they're led on the offensive line by Ronnie Bailey, Freddie Hart, Blake Dunham, Trey Derween, and Trey Malloy. Mac Marshall, their quarterback. Talked a lot about Mac when we were not really on the air. We'll get into the story of Mac Marshall, the two-time state champion pitcher in baseball. His wide receivers are Larry Ville, G.G. Robinson, and Keanu Mole. And one of his running backs tonight, at least, has been this guy, Shaq Vereen. Didn't know we'd see Vereen this much in the backfield. He's been pretty productive. If memory serves, that's probably about his fourth carry. Marshall's also got Brandon Sullivan, the fullback in the backfield, but their primary running back is Justice Rosser. Now that you've joined us, you'll get to see Justice a good deal in the rest of this ball game. Rosser, a junior at 5'6", 185. That's right, 5'6", 185, but he's a little power pack. On 95 carries so far this year, 608 yards on the ground. That's 6.4 per carry. And 7 touchdowns. He, of course, taking over for Chris Carson. This is Sullivan, the big fullback. Brandon, very tough to bring down. Brandon at 6 foot 230, the junior, with a good carry on the sweep to the near side.
For a Parkview first down, ball across midfield.
I formation. Mack under center. Mole goes in motion. Toss back to Vereen. Shaq to the right side, playing off of the right tackle, or as they call him, the strong tackle, Trey Malloy. Well, the reason they're running Vereen here is because he's a little bigger, a little more physical, not quite as athletic and scatterbuggish. Did I just say scatterbuggish? Yeah, I guess I did. Not quite as scatterbuggish as Justice Rosser. Sometimes when you're doing this play-by-play, brother, I tell you what, you just don't even know what you're saying. But there's Rosser now back into the ball game, standing beside Marshall, and he takes a snap. You'll see him weave in and out of traffic. Did you see the spin move he put there on the defender? Now, it wasn't very productive there, but the thing that's so big about Justice Rosser is he's strong and he's tough and he's quick. Yes, he's all of those things. But he's a tiny little guy, as I mentioned, at 5'6". He's got very strong legs, and so the thing for Rosser is that he gets lost in the trees. He gets lost in those offensive linemen, and sometimes you'll see him just explode through the line of scrimmage. A 3rd and 6 play coming up here. It's a big, big play here at 1:21 left in the first half. Marshall going to throw, incomplete.
Mac Marshall's pass was tipped. Maybe Jordan Forster with it. With the deflection, it's going to be 4th and 6.
Now Parkview went for it earlier. They certainly will not here at the Walton 45. Cold night here in Marietta. Certainly not so cold it's had an effect on the offense tonight. It's been all defense. DJ Smith calls for the fair catch, and he's hit by a defensive player and will draw more yardage, out of the reception.
By DJ Smith, flag is down. Tackle made by Ronnie Bailey. Personal foul against Parkview.
Now big opportunity here for Walton offensively. Got a good kicker. This will be a personal foul, by the way, so they'll move it up considerably. At 1:08 left, first half. Talking about this side of the bracket a moment ago, Noonan and Alcovey. Right now, the Cougars lead Alcovey 9-0. West Forsyth leads Collins Hill 24-6. Or West Forsyth leads Collins Hill, if I said that wrong, 24-6. Here we're at 7-0. And as I mentioned, the winner of this one takes on either the Eagles of Collins Hill or West Forsyth. So many interesting games from around the state tonight. Wonder about McEachern and Colquitt County. Three to nothing. McEachern out in front on the reservation over in Powder Springs. This looks like the let's go to the half at 7-0 formation for Walton, but be careful if you're Parkview. Yep, McLeod going to take the snap and kneel down on it. Parkview call a timeout. They sure did.
Parkview takes their last timeout.
Parkview going to go ahead and use their third timeout of the half and say, well, we're not going to go that quietly. Want to force them into a punt perhaps. Well, as wild as the first quarter was, this second quarter has been relatively uneventful for the most part. We've had a couple of productive offensive plays, but no scoring, no turnovers. And again, if you're just tuning in, 4 turnovers in the first quarter. Sure that some of that, something similar to that going on at some point around the state. And if you want to contribute to the coverage tonight, join the conversation about high school sports. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Play On Sports, hashtag GHSA Football.
The TSL
your source, your playoff central for the next 4 weeks. We're going to take you all the way through the conclusion of the state semifinals. I'll be somewhere. And, of course, our friends over at GPB will pick up the state championship games. They'll have the exclusive coverage. But your playoff central for the next 4 weeks will be right here on the Play On Sports High School Network. PlayOnSports.com/football playoffs.
Third and about 18 for Walton.
Third and 18 coming up. Don't believe they'll have to punt this football away. Under 20 seconds. They'll kneel down. And, yes, that will, in fact, be the end of the first half. So I want to remind you, fans, to stay tuned for our live visual feed, which will continue throughout the halftime festivities. It'll be bands and fans coming up from Raider Valley here in Marietta on the Play On High School Sports Network, where Parkview, the number 3 seed, trails the number 2 seed Walton 7-0 in Marietta right here in the opening round of the GHSA State Playoffs on the Play On High School Sports Network. back at Raider Valley in Marietta, Georgia, on the campus of Walton High School. Again, thanks for joining us, everybody, here on the Play On High School Sports Network. Alongside Amy Walker flipping the switches for us tonight, our producer-director on site. And the man giving you the images through the viewfinder, Todd Edwards. I'm Chris Mooneyham here with the play-by-play story. In a 7-0 ball game here on the campus of Walton High School in this first round GHSA football tournament matchup between Walton and Parkview. There on your screen, the pride of the robotics club here at Walton. That little robot made a 50-yard field goal right at the half, right before we came back from the break, in the T-shirt launch. It was as impressive as any offense we saw in the first half here at Raider Valley. Other scores from around the state before we get into a recap of the action in the first half here between the Panthers and the Raiders. Marietta leads Lowndes 16-3. McEachern leads Colquitt 10-7. Let's see what else we got. Lovejoy all over Tri-Cities. Holy smokes. Grayson 35-6 lead on Wheeler, who everybody saw that coming. North Gwinnett leads Johns Creek 28-7. And inside this side of the bracket, let's see, what do we got? Go down there for me if you don't mind, Amy. Okay, inside this side of the bracket, Noonan leads Alcovey 9-0. West Forsyth 24-6 on Collins Hill. And we're about ready to get things underway here in the second half. West Forsyth leading big in their ball game. The winner of West Forsyth Collins Hill will meet the winner of this one. We had 4 turnovers in the first quarter of this ball game. The first quarter was wild. It was back and forth. It was a defensive slugfest. And as I mentioned, 4 turnovers. 3 by Parkview, 1 by Walton. Mac Marshall, the quarterback for Parkview, 2 interceptions in the ball game in the first quarter. The lone touchdown coming on a 31-yard touchdown run by DJ Smith, the offensive star for Walton tonight. And really, to be honest with you, as he has been over about the last 3 weeks for the Raiders. Again, if you want to join the conversation about high school sports, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Play On Sports, hashtag GHSA Football. Anthony Price ready to tee things up and begin the second half. What will we see in what for one team will be the final half of football in 2012? Automatic touchback. For all the best coverage of Georgia high school football throughout the playoffs, you can also go to WSBTV.com, our partners in coverage. For live scoring updates and highlights of all the games that Play On Sports is covering tonight. And throughout the next 4 weeks, you can go to playonsports.com/football playoffs. We are your playoff central for the next 4 weeks. Handoff. Far side. Stop behind the line of scrimmage. Gets away from the initial tackler. And that'll turn into about a 5-yard gain. Good second effort. We start it tonight, and as I mentioned in the first half, I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite nights in sports, the opening round of the Georgia High School Football Playoffs. 192 teams tonight still have the dream of hoisting the Silver Cup under the big top in Atlanta, but only 7 will be crowned state champion. A 2nd and 5 play after the 5-yard gain by Rosser at running back, handoff to Justice again. This time about 2. Bring up 3rd and short. Colquitt County's now taking the lead on McEachern. Thank you so much, Amy. Boy, she's staying on top of it. You stay with us here in our live feed from Marietta. We'll keep you updated on the ball games. No need for you to go anywhere else. Just talking about that at the half. That's what men love. We love flipping the channels, but part of the reason we do it is when we're watching sports, we want to make sure we're keeping up to date on the scores. You stay here. I'll keep you updated. Handoff. Shaq Vereen coming near side looking for the first down mark, and he's got it at about the 31-yard line. We've seen a lot of Vereen tonight. Shaq Vereen, that's the wrinkle in the offense for Parkview tonight. They don't quite give him the 31-yard line, but it will be a first down. By my count, only the third or fourth down conversion for Parkview tonight. Under 10.5 minutes, third quarter. Handoff. Rob Youngblood, by the way, is in the ball game at quarterback. Didn't get into this story at the first half, pardon me. Rob Youngblood now in at quarterback. You see him on the far side of your screen, or the top of your screen there, running now back into the 25-yard line, number 12. There you go, Todd. Good job. Thank you, buddy. Rob Youngblood was the starter for this team for the first half of the season. Broke his clavicle. Missed significant time. And his replacement was Mac Marshall. Both of these guys, very good baseball players. Marshall, a great athlete. Sometimes forces some balls in where he shouldn't, floats the ball a little bit too much. Rob came back healthy. They put him back into the secondary at the safety position, where he has been a two-way player for much of his career, speaking of Youngblood, that is. But now after the first half struggles of Mac Marshall, and I hate to say that, not picking on the kid, Mac a great kid, but after his first half struggles, 2 interceptions, they've replaced him with Youngblood. You know, that's got to be a tough decision for Cecil Flo, their head coach in his 20th year, but you got to do it. Your team's trailing in what could be their final game of the year, a quick fire, and caught. Larry Veal, the senior wide receiver, makes the catch. Veal at 6'2", 195.
Short of the first down.
That's going to be short of the first down, however, and bring up a fourth down. It's been the situation for Parkview all season long. Offensive consistency. They've been able to be consistent scoring-wise because they've had one of the best running backs in the state in their backfield. Speaking, of course, of Chris Carson. But Carson, who broke his tibia and had surgery, matter of fact, just this week. Good job by the punter to stay with it, and he barely gets the kickoff. My goodness. Great composure there by Hunter Thornton to scoop up the worm burner, pick it up, and get the kickoff right as 3 Walton defenders were collapsing in on him.
But Thornton gets it off, and Walton will take over. First and 10.
But speaking again of that Parkview offense, Carson goes out with a broken tibia, and it really puts a lot of pressure on the rest of their offensive players. Part of the reason they've been so good offensively is because they had Carson and they had Rosser. Change of pace. Now, with the run game pretty much on Rosser, you can key in on him. Walton knows a little bit about that offensively. Here's DJ Smith, who's had to fill in for the All-State performer Tyron Jones. And Smith looks like he's got himself about a 4-yard gain.
Sam Willis makes the hit after a gain of
the difference is, next year, DJ Smith may be one of the best running backs in the state himself. He's getting a lot of looks from SEC squads. He's just a junior. Florida listed as his favorite right now. Todd Edwards, our cameraman, throws his hands up in the air in celebration. Man, I'm flanked by 2 Florida fans here. Both Amy and Todd, Florida fans. Their offense could use DJ. Wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage, 29-yard line. And believe it or not, I'm not taking a shot at the Gators when I say that. If I was, you'd know it. I take just about every opportunity I can. DJ, a very, very fine athlete, a two-way player. In fact, I mentioned in the first half, if you were with us, DJ had probably one of the greatest nights of his life. 3rd and 9 coming up here, by the way, as he went for 200 yards of total offense, receiving and rushing, and had an interception and a forced fumble against Etowah. Parker in the shotgun, and this play blown dead.
Dead ball. Penalty.
False start. Not a lot of penalties in the first half if you're just tuning in, but they were key penalties when they did occur. A couple of very big penalties I can think of off the top of my head. A couple of false starts that really killed a drive for each team that looked to be pretty productive, to be quite frank with you. And we've really had very few plays in this ball game that have been called that have been what you would call big gainers. 10 plus, 12 plus, 15 plus. DJ's got that potential. He goes to the left side, and on 3rd and long, he'll have about 6 or 7. But that won't be enough on a 3rd and 14 play as we'll near the 6-minute mark, 6:15 to be precise here in just a moment. Walton going to kick it away with a 7-0 lead.
Short of the first down, it will be 4th and about 6.
Mentioned the 4 turnovers in the first quarter. Not a lot of scoring, just the 1 touchdown, but the first quarter very entertaining. If you count turnovers as entertaining, that is. The second quarter, very plodding, very methodical. Not much offensively or defensively to speak of. Good punt, or actually a good roll. Parkview's ensuing drive will begin at the 25-yard line.
44 yards. Both guys that are at the 25.
So after tonight and tomorrow, we'll take 192 and nearly cut it in half as far as teams left in the state playoffs. 7 champions this year in the state of Georgia. 6 classifications. Now you're asking yourself, what? Remember, the lowest classification, single A, will have 2 champions this year, 1 in public and 1 in private schools. Quick fire. This is Keanu Mole, and a good tackle with one-on-one isolation coverage. A tremendous individual defensive play by Justice Bailey, the free safety senior, on the tackle. If you let Keanu Mole make that first move on you, brother, he may burn you. 24-yard line. That's been kind of the story for them all night. A completed pass, but it lost a yard. Rosser stuck behind the line of scrimmage. Colby Billings, the Rover safety, 6'175". The senior comes in and makes the tackle. Walton's defense, despite the fact that they've been beat up this year, has been solid. I do a little favor to a friend of mine, a former color analysis buddy of mine, Scott Janovitz, who works a call-in show here on 790 The Zone, a local Atlanta radio station, where he does live updates and takes calls from on-site games on Friday nights for the high school football broadcasts. First to snap to Youngblood on 3rd and long. And a sack. And they asked me at the half when I called in to Scott and his broadcast partner, Sean Golden, if Walton was healthy, where would you put them in the championship hunt? I said, guys, if they're healthy, they're one of the top 5 teams in the state. Now, they're not, so it may be a moot point, but where they are still their strongest may be defensively, despite the fact that they are without their leading tackler tonight, Imani Parker. Parkview went from a 1st and 10 to now punting the ball away at 4th and 24. Thornton in his own end zone. Caught at the 50.
The fair catch by Stone Romberg.
Romberg stepped in front of DJ there. That's so dangerous.
Raiders get.
But the Raiders going to start now.
Inside Panther territory.
Just inside of Panther territory. Not a lot of offense tonight. There are a lot of games going on around the state where there's a lot of offense going on. You want to join the conversation about the offense or the lack thereof? Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at PlayOnSports, hashtag GHSA Football. Parkview shows a blitz, and the fullback can't quite pick it up. And it turns into an absolutely huge defensive play for Micah Finley, the baseball prospect at 6'2", the senior, inside linebacker with a huge play on first down. Boy, Micah, this is the kind of play where I really wish we had replay here because Micah absolutely blew that play up on the interior line. That last drive, I was just speaking of the strengths and weaknesses for both of these teams that have been hurt by injury this year. one spot where they have been hurt by injury, Walton I'm speaking of, has been on the offensive line. It's not just been Tyron Jones, a guy who led the state in rushing last year and, of course, is an Alabama prospect next year. He'll be out for the rest of this season most likely, but their offensive line has been absolutely crushed by injury. They got one of the best linemen in the nation in Brandon Cablano, who will be playing his college football at Georgia. They got a kid named Jake Boynton who's not playing tonight. He'll be at Kentucky next year. In fact, we saw them 2 weeks ago with our Play on Sports broadcast that we do for Xfinity Cable. They started 4 sophomore on the offensive linemen that night, 4 of which had never started a high school football game in their careers. So that tells you what they've been through, Rocky Hidalgo and his club has been through so far this year. Well, right now they're trying to put all that behind them with a 7-0 lead here in the third quarter of their opening round state tournament ball game at 2:47 in this third stanza. If they win, they'll go on to play West Forsyth, whose lead at the half over Collins Hill has been cut to 31-21. Noonan also inside this bracket, now up 17-0 at the half. And then at the top half of the bracket with McEachern and Colquitt, 14-0. McEachern trails, or 14-10, pardon me. The Indians trail at home to Colquitt. 4 wide receivers. Man goes in motion. They fake the handoff to Smith, and Parker smothered down. Brought down on the play by John Patterson, a junior who they absolutely love. Patterson, one of their top tacklers, 48 so far this year, 6'1", 215. He may be a defensive captain for them coming up next year. Boy, speaking of which, you look at their seniors on their defensive squad, Parkview, I mean. They got a lot of seniors that'll be gone next year. This game means a whole lot to both of these teams, past, present, and future. DJ coming near side, tries to make a move, slips on the turf again, and it'll bring up a 4th down play. Walton, of course, in the state championship game last year, lost to Grayson and Robert Kimdichie. That was their first loss of the year, finished 14-1, and what a team that was. Beat their opponents by an average of, if memory serves, about 24 points per ball game. Parkview, of course, the team with all the championship pedigree. The statistics for Parkview historically are absolutely astounding. I'll try not to inundate you with them as we have a quick break here in the change of possession. I'm a big stat hound. All of you out there that have been listening to me over the 2 decades I've been broadcasting high school and college sports here in the state of Georgia, you may know that. But some of the statistics that Parkview has put together over the last 20 years are some of my favorite, including which Parkview reached the state quarterfinals. This is one of my favorite stats of all time now. Get this. Parkview reached the state quarterfinals every year, 14 consecutive years, from 1995 through 2008. That almost doesn't sound as if it could be real. Man in motion, that's Veal. Youngblood, the handoff. Believe this is Rosser. And it is Justice to the 25-yard line.
Kyle Whitaker comes in to make the tackle.
Parkview from 1995 through 2004, in a 10-year span, played in 6 state championship games. Of course, winning 4 times. Got a man down on the field here for a moment. And I tell you what we'll do. We'll take a quick break with them as they try to compose the fullback, Brandon Sullivan, and get him back onto the field. We'll take a quick break in a 7-0 ball game near the end of the third quarter on the Play On High School Sports Network. Second and 5 play coming up. Under 1 minute left, third quarter. And so the drama begins to build. Youngblood under center, offset eye, Veal in motion, handoff. Vereen with a little more power than Rosser, and he's close. to the first down mark. And they'll say he has the first down. So throughout most of this season, it was Chris Carson and a little bit of Rosser. Then as Justice began to emerge, it was just a little less Carson, but still the majority of the carries, and a little more Rosser. Now, it's Rosser and Vereen. And a big first down near the end of the third quarter here. Under a half minute. Offset I again. Same formation, same development. This time to the right side. Shaq finds a gap. That ball popped loose. Nope. Just saw a little extra hustle out of one of the offensive linemen for Parkview. And a little physicality. I like seeing it, to be honest with you. It's a playoff game. And with that, we go to the end, or we're at the end of the third quarter. To the fourth quarter we go from Raider Valley. We'll take a quick break here on the Play on High School Sports Network, where Walton leads Parkview 7-0 from Marietta. Set for fourth quarter action. 2 timeouts for Walton, 3 for Parkview. Let's remember that as we've entered the final 12 minutes from Raider Valley here in Marietta. Alongside Todd Edwards and Amy Walker, I'm Chris Mooneyham. Thanks for joining us here on the Play on High School Sports Network. Look at Keanu Mole. There's that explosion I was talking about a moment ago. And the reception will bring up another first down for Parkview. Reset the chains.
Ball right at the 42.
Youngblood brings the team to the line. Got a tight end on top side. Veal goes in motion. Offset I. Hand the ball to Rosser. Justice left side. Or maybe that's Vereen. Wait till they come out of the pack. Yep, indeed it is Shaq Vereen. I'll tell you what, Shaq's got as many carries tonight as Justice Rosser.
6-yard gain.
They'll give him a 6-yard gain. That Parkview crowd very lively over on the visitor's side. Very lively indeed. Home side a little... Despite the fact that they lead 7-0, this is about as quiet as I've ever seen a Walton crowd. Handoff. Justice to the far side. Got a little space. 50. 45. Gets away from 2 tacklers. Still on his feet. It's Justice Rosser to the 20. The 15. Dragging a tackler and past him to the touchdown. Justice Rosser with a 52-yard touchdown run at 10:39 of the fourth quarter. And we're an extra point away from a tie ball game.
Flag on the play.
Now let's see what the development here is going to be. As they rush to the line, went for the 2-point conversion. They're going to call an illegal procedure on the play.
The gadget play not working there.
Well, the safe money says we'll see an extra point now. You already blew your gadget play. Marshall on to hold for Tyler Stevenson. 19 out of 21 on PATs this year. Stevenson, the senior. The snap, good. The ball down. The kick on the way. And it is good. So Stevenson splits the uprights and ties us at 7.
7-all here with 10 minutes to go in regulation.
So a game that had turned into the essence of a defensive slugfest for the last, well, really the entirety of the ball game, but especially through quarters 2 and 3. And finally, someone breaks out offensively. Another flag down on the play, by the way. Looks like unsportsmanlike on both teams. They'll wave them off. Consider it a warning. Well, look, you're going to have these kids get a little chippy. It's game number 11. If you don't count their scrimmages, it's game number 11. You got two very prideful programs, prideful teams. There's a reason that this may be the most marquee game in the state tonight. Two very well-known programs, big names, you know what I mean? Between Walton and Parkview. Two teams that are senior-laden, and it's an odd feeling if you've never played. It's a strange feeling when you go into a ball game and you know as a senior, you know, this could be it tonight. And you try not to think about it because it's only going to hurt you when you're out there on the field playing. So you think to yourself, well, yeah, it could be it, but I'm not going to dwell on that. I've got to perform the way I know I need to. You know, they're thinking that over in Powder Springs, where McEachern now trails Colquitt County 17-10. McEachern, depending on who you talk to, McEachern the number 1 seed, Colquitt a number 4. I mentioned it earlier. I joked Colquitt may be the best number 4 seed in state history. A lot of people have Colquitt winning that game over in Powder Springs in the prediction circles. DJ Smith looking for daylight. And finally tackled over the 35-yard line at around the 38.
The 39-yard line, tackled by Keanu Bowles.
Should be a very entertaining next 4 weeks as we figure out who will play at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta come the second weekend of December for the state titles. State championships at the Dome will be decided on the 14th and 15th of December. There are some clear favorites. What's that? Amy Walker will be spending her birthday at the Georgia Dome, I'm sure, watching the state championships. That's exactly what she wants to do. Parker McLeod now. Going to hand off to a new man in at running back. It's Justice Bailey. Now, wait a minute. Is the ball loose? Still no official call from the officials. The Parkview side going absolutely bananas here. Still nobody's made the official call, and now finally they do. Chip Huffman, the man in the white hat, takes charge of the situation and says first down Parkview. Well, let me put that in the trustees' score sheet. The second turnover for Walton in the ball game, both of which have been fumbles. This one coming at 10:17 of the fourth quarter. But this one, really the biggest of the ball game altogether. They're still winning the turnover margin +1. But this one comes after Parkview finally found some offensive life. Youngblood going to hand off to Rosser. Justice was so productive in that last drive, of course, with the 52-yard touchdown run. This play productive as well, but it may be coming back.
Justice Bailey came up to make the tackle, but a flag is down.
Illegal shift.
Illegal shift against Parkview. Ball backed up to the 50.
I want to remind you folks, if you're sitting on the edge of your seat, as I am, you can join the conversation about high school sports tonight. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Play On Sports, hashtag GHSA Football.
With 10:10 left in the game.
Just over 10 minutes left here in Marietta. In fact, for all the best coverage of Georgia football throughout the playoffs, you can also go to our friends at WSBTV.com. And for live scoring and highlights of all the games that Play On Sports is featuring tonight, go to playonsports.com/football playoffs. We'll take a quick break with both teams on the field in a 7-7 ball game. Fourth quarter action from Marietta on the Play On High School Sports Network. How big is this drive for Parkview?
Parkview ball, 1st and 15 at the 50.
Having just regained possession after the Walton fumble. Now Vereen. Shack trying to get back to the original line of scrimmage, and he will do so. They'll say he does not go out of bounds. We'll have to remember those moments as we plot through the ball game now.
Picks up about 6.
Even with 10 minutes left, that's the thing a lot of coaches and a lot of analysts don't focus on quite enough. When on a play like that, a running back stays in bounds at any point in the fourth quarter, much less when you're trying to run down the clock, which is so oftentimes focused on. Watch for Keanu Mole down here on the near side. I'm sure Parkview will run it, but if they decide to throw it, they've got isolation coverage down here. And a false start. Going to hit G.G. Robinson for moving early in the tight end spot. False start.
Movement on the line before the snap.
That an easy call for Chip and his crew.
Youngblood wanted Keanu Mole on that play, but there was movement.
Well, I called that one.
15 here, folks.
That's why I wanted to be an offensive coordinator.
Big series.
Instead, they trapped me in this broadcasting gig. That's not bad. I ate for free tonight. I'm getting to see two of the premier programs in the state of Georgia go at it. And the banana pudding was unbelievable. False start. Looks like a delay of game. No, an illegal substitution, pardon me.
Break the huddle.
And that's why I'm not an official, because I missed that one. But Chip and his crew saw it. Mr. Huffman
into their own territory.
Must have had 12 guys in the huddle. That usually is how you get to that call in the high school game. When somebody gets confused, comes out into the huddle when they think one play's been called, and they get it confused. Now, they're going to have to rush this offensive play back out here, by the way. Look at the scramble offensively for Parkview. They're going to rush to the offensive line. They've got no more than about 6 seconds to snap this ball. Youngblood checking his wrist coach, getting into the shotgun, and they won't get the snap off. And you know what? This is the kind of moment right here where a quarterback can gripe a little bit to his coaches. And Rob is doing just that. He's griping a little bit about the pace in which the play call was made. And I'll tell you what it does even more is that it wakes up the blue and black or the red, white, and blue clad people over here on the home sideline. 2nd and very, very long. They'll call it 24. Youngblood in the shotgun. Man goes in motion. Now 3 receivers down on this side. That was Mullen in motion. And Youngblood stays out of the sack. 45, 50. Rob's a big kid and tough to bring down as he gets to the 49-yard line.
Rob Youngblood on the scramble.
Boy, Rob's so hard to bring down. Well, they say he's 5'11", 195. I may believe the 195. But the 5'11", I'm not so sure about.
Ball at the 49-yard line. Walton, 3rd,
well,
14.
Now we're in the point of the ball game where you'll hear me say about 10 times, this is the biggest moment of the ball game. And I'll be right every time. Under 8 minutes. A big third down play. Youngblood. Flushed. Wants to throw. Now he will, where he's got a man wide open, falling backwards. Now here's the key. Look at the line where Veal makes the catch. You see the first down mark above it. Where are they going to spot this ball? This is going to be very, very close. They're going to put him a half yard. Look at the spot of that football as Todd Edwards trying to zoom in for us and get the football and the marker in the same shot. Good job, Todd. You see, he's about a foot shy of the first down, and it looks like the offensive team's staying in. Now, let's pay attention here. Mac Marshall has come into the ball game. Is Mac going to play quarterback? They're rushing to the line. He is in the ball game. Watch the bootleg. Instead, he'll fake. He'll go right up the middle. And I believe he's got the first down. Yes, he does.
Should be enough for a first down.
First down for Parkview. Remember that moment.
First down.
Ball spotted just shy of the 34-yard line. 7 minutes exactly left in this one. Well, it hasn't been the most electrifying game, but it may end up being the best finish of the night. And that is the one thing we expected. We knew one way or another we were headed for a close one. Mac Marshall in the ball game still, by the way. Hands off to Rosser, and Justice is hit right at the line of scrimmage. Boy, anytime you can collapse on Ronnie Bailey and Freddie Hart on the left side of that offensive line, you know you've done something. Marietta continues to lead Lowndes. How about that? Mill Creek has battled back to tie Alpharetta at 24. Boy, oh boy. West Forsyth up 10 on Collins Hill at the half. Noonan up by 24 on Alcovey. That's Veal in motion. Rob looking his way. Hit as he throws. Going deep to Mole. Could be intercepted. It's batted around and incomplete. Boy, oh boy. You had 3 men down there with a chance to catch that one, and it tipped off of 2 men's hands.
Marshall's pass tipped and almost caught.
You had Taquan Stewart, who got his hands on it first. Would have been his second interception of the ball game. And then, as Mole is falling to the ground, and just as he hits the ground, so does the ball, and it comes out of his hands. Now 3rd and 10. 5:52 left in this one. Fake the handoff. Youngblood back into the ball game. Rod trying to get away from traffic. This ball batted up in the air and caught by G.G. Robinson. G.G. made the catch on the deflection and was pushed out of bounds at the 25-yard line. It'll be shy of a first down, but hold on everything. We got yellow hankies on the floor. Men in stripes conferring.
There is a flag down.
They're going to wave it off.
Being waved off because the ball was tipped. It is a free ball and anybody can catch it.
So that'll bring up a 4th and very, very short. In fact, bringing up about a 4th and a half yard, depending on where you believe that spot is over there. And it looks like they're going for it. Rosser heads off the field. Vereen is the back. Offset eye. Marshall in at quarterback. Or is that Youngblood? I'm screened out. Got a man in motion. Handoff. Vereen to the left side. Reaches as he hits the line of scrimmage. And I believe he's got it. Indeed he does. First down for Parkview. Their second fourth down conversion of this drive. Boy, oh boy. What will happen in this drive? Could this be a season-defining drive for the Panthers of Parkview as we go under 5.5 minutes? 2 fourth down conversions on this drive. They took over with a little over 10 minutes left in this quarter. So nearly a 5-minute drive now. Vereen heads right up the middle, right off the backside of Blake Dunham. And he's got a modest little gain. A little more than modest. Let me give the kid credit. That's about a 5-yard gain.
Gain of about 4.
Ball spotted at the 18. 4-yard gain for Shaq. He's out of the game and Rosser's back in. They're really alternating these backs. 2nd and 6. Veal in motion this side to block instead. Rosser to the left. And he's handled right at the line. Another big third down play coming up. Closing in on 4 minutes left in this one. Again, the winner faces either West Forsyth or Collins Hill in the second round of the state tournament. From there, it's either Noonan or Alcovey or McEachern or Colquitt County. And remember, we'll take you all the way through the state semifinals here on the Play On High School Sports Network. You'll find out who's going to the state championship game when you tune in here. Youngblood with the quick fire. Out to Mole, and he had Keanu open, but he put a little too much on it. My, oh my.
The intended receiver.
He had Keanu Mole, who leads the team in receptions and is second on the team in yards. And another fourth down coming up. No way they go for it here. Are they going to do it a third time? Doesn't look like it. Tyler Stevenson out on the field now.
Number 19, Tyler Stevenson on to try a 34.
This will be a 34-yard field goal attempt with the clock rolling at 3:55. Snap, ball down, and the defense collapses in on him. I don't know if it was a fake or a bad snap, but one way or another, Walton collapses in on the holding man, Mac Marshall, and stops the field goal opportunity. Walton will take over possession on their own side of the field at just the 30-yard line, but most importantly, they have the ball back, and we're still tied at 7. Well, this closer to the first quarter action we saw, isn't it, Amy? The first quarter was wild and woolly here in Marietta. The second quarter and third quarter kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it was very plodding, very methodical. But this fourth quarter has been absolutely dramatic and entertaining.
Gain of 7 on the play.
If you're just tuning in from around the state, maybe you've been watching other games from around the state on the Play On High School Sports Network. Again, thanks for joining us. We're live here in Marietta at Raider Valley on the campus of Walton High School. Alongside Todd Edwards and Amy Walker, I'm Chris Mooney. I'm here with a play-by-play story. We had a first quarter between Walton and Parkview, two of the premier programs in our state that had 4 turnovers and just 1 touchdown, a 31-yard touchdown run for Walton's DJ Smith. The second and third quarter, just shy of boring. Here's DJ to the right side, and he's right at the first down mark at the 40. But this fourth quarter, things have really opened up. A 52-yard touchdown run by Justice Rosser tied us at 7 with the extra point. And then a fumble recovery for Parkview and a botched field goal opportunity for Parkview. We've had 5 total turnovers in this ball game. We thought for a moment, a few moments ago, that Parkview may be driving in for the game-winning score and the defining moment of their season. Now Walton trying to do the same after the botched field goal opportunity by Parkview. DJ Smith DJ got a little daylight, and boy, oh boy, he was an ankle tackle away. The tackle made by Justice Rosser from breaking that thing. And now, are we going to have a flag down for a little skirmish in the secondary? Well, let's wait and see the call. But for the moment, we're looking at a 2nd and 2 on the 8-yard gain by Smith. Well, there was no flag thrown, but we had the back judge in the face of a Parkview player telling him to settle down. 2nd and 2. Ball spotted at the 48. 150 left in this one. McLeod hands off to the running back, who is absolutely stuffed 5 yards deep in the back of the line of scrimmage. Smith brought down by Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams, certainly one of the defensive leaders for Parkview, a kid who will be playing his ball next year at either Troy or Colorado State, maybe Air Force, Ohio. Maybe he'll be a 49er for UNC Charlotte, and the Hoosiers of Indiana talking to him as well. Kyle, who is a true stat stuffer defensively, 56 tackles this year, 9 tackles for a loss. Well, let's make it 10 now at least. He's got 5 sacks, an interception, a couple of forced fumbles, a couple of recoveries. 3rd and long now. Call it 7. We're heading down to a minute left here in Marietta. They've got a good kicker, so their main goal is to get first downs and get into field goal range. And Rocky Hidalgo and the Raiders will call a timeout. Their second of the second half. They have now just 1 timeout left at 1:06. Mercy.
Possessions on the 15-yard line.
Well, there are certain members of the Play On High School Sports Network family on the production side that, well, Play On handles high school football for our friends over at Xfinity Comcast. And in the local Atlanta area this year for our Xfinity broadcast, we were fortunate enough to have an absolutely amazing schedule, including 3 games that went to overtime. Amy, Todd, we're a minute away again. I just don't believe it. 20 years on and off I've been calling high school football in this state. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Linebackers show blitz for Parkview, and they're coming. Parker McLeod, the senior leader, fires. Caught. First down. Trying to squirm his way to more yardage. I believe it's Ryan Craig.
Pass is complete. To Henry Rowling.
Now they're going to say it's Rowling on the reception, but that's close. They were both in the same spot, either Craig or Rowling on the reception, one way or another. Now, are they calling that one back?
And it is holding against the Raiders.
Now, that's an odd call because I didn't see a single flag down on the field. That is an absolutely devastating penalty for Walton. Pardon me for the indecision in the broadcast booth, but I promise you there was not a yellow hanky on the field. Todd, you got my back on that one? Thank you, sir. I'm not crazy, at least not about that. Well, this is big. 45 seconds, 3rd and 21. Do you run it here and run some more clock? Parkview's got 2 timeouts, so I still say run it, and they will. DJ coming near side. Smith is pulled down. Parkview timeout got to be coming up, and it is. Cecil Flo absolutely tears onto the field and gets hold of the side judge and calls his second timeout of the second half. I believe it's his second timeout. We'll wait and see if the scoreboard changes. 30.4 seconds left in this ball game here in Marietta. Walton and Parkview, one of the marquee games of the night, tied at 7. Potential overtime here in Marietta between Walton and Parkview. If you want to talk about it with other folks who are following high school football from around the state, join the conversation about high school sports on Facebook and Twitter at PlayOnSports, hashtag GHSA Football. Parkview on the verge of getting this thing back with 30 seconds left. And how about this? Rob Youngblood and Mac Marshall both deep to receive. This one bounces inside the 40. Mac will pick it up and down it at the 35. Good kick by Wirtz. Look at that. Thank you, Amy, for the update. Mill Creek on top of Alpharetta now 38-24. And West Forsyth trying to pull away from Collins Hill. Again, the winner of this one will face either the Screaming Eagles of Collins Hill or West Forsyth. And it looks like we've got the closest one of the night, looking at the other scores from around the state, at least in the metro area. Final timeout called by Walton. Now, if we go to overtime, it's very much like the college rules. Both teams will get possession, except they'll start from the 15-yard line. Todd, you listening? I'll give you the update as well. Both teams will have possession, and they'll start from the 15-yard line. Each team will be afforded a timeout. Again, the same as college. The only difference is the difference between high school and college. They don't necessarily flip-flop who has possession when in the other overtime. What happens is if you win the toss for the first overtime, the losing team the team who lost the initial toss, they get the choice for the second overtime. Follow me? I don't know if I followed myself, so I'm really asking. But we may be on the verge of overtime here in Marietta. Parkview saying, not so fast. Well, they'll have to do something tremendous in 30 seconds to get in Stevenson's range, or 22 seconds, rather. They do still have 2 timeouts. Youngblood, he's got a big arm. Gets rid of it just as he's hit. Oh, and dropped by Mole. Keanu Mole was wide open and had the potential at a catch and had time to get out of bounds. But Keanu tried to run before he caught the football. The Cardinals' sin of wide receiving. Mercy. No, he'll have to shake that off. No time to worry about it now. And I'll tell you what, that play took so much time. Now 15 seconds left. And yep, it looks like I may be right. Snap to Youngblood. He will kneel down. Walton has no timeouts, and we are, in fact, can you believe it? We are going to overtime in Marietta. So with that, we'll go right to a break. We'll get ourselves together. We'll review the rules maybe even and come back for overtime in Marietta. 7-7, Walton and Parkview on the network. back in Marietta, ready for overtime at Raider Valley on the campus of Walton High School. Again, thanks for joining us. Alongside Todd Edwards running the camera tonight, and Amy Walker flipping the switches. I'm Chris Mooneyham. What a night. Well, we didn't know how we'd get here, but I think most people believed that this would be a tight affair, a memorable one that would come down to the very end. We figured defense would be the star of the ball game. We'd see some explosive plays, and probably whoever won the turnover battle would win this thing. Well, that's still up for grabs. We've had 5 turnovers in the ball game so far tonight, 3 for Parkview and 2 for Walton. We're headed to overtime. Just 2 touchdowns in this ball game so far tonight. 4 turnovers for the 2 teams combined in the first quarter, and a 31-yard touchdown run by DJ Smith for Walton, and that put the lead at 7-0. The second and third quarters were plodding and slow. Neither team able to get anything going. In the fourth quarter, a 52-yard touchdown run by Justice Rosser tied us at 7. And here we go with overtime. Both teams again will start at the 15. Parkview first. Hand off to Rosser. Justice runs into his offensive lineman, tries to come back to the near side, and he's wrapped up after about a 3, maybe a 4-yard gain. Walton fumbled on their opening drive. Taquan Stewart intercepted for Walton. All this in the first quarter. Then the run by Smith, an interception by Colby Billings of Walton, and then a fumble recovery for Walton. All in the first quarter. Rosser's touchdown run came here in the fourth. A fumble recovery for Parkview and a botched field goal for Parkview. Handoff. Rosser got a flag down on the play as he nears the 5-yard line, so we'll wait and see if the play stands.
Rosser close to a first down.
Nope, false start. Going to push Parkview back. And in overtime, those calls can be so very critical. Entertaining games going on all around the state, but as far as I know, we've got the only one in overtime. Parkview backed up 5. So the ball spotted at about the 16-yard line. A crisp, cool night here in Marietta. Coming down to overtime. 0s on the clock with Parkview and Walton. All going to be spotted at the 16. Remember, both teams can get a first down when they have the ball offensively. Walton with a slight advantage only because they'll know what they need to do when they get the ball on offense. Youngblood in the shotgun, got 3 receivers to the top. Fakes the handoff, now going to fire where he's got G.G. Robinson at the 10, and the big guy falls forward to about the 9. So 3rd and 4 coming up. Again, the drive started at the 15, so each team has a chance for a first down at the 5. And if you're Parkview, you want to do whatever you can to, A, protect the football, and 2, try to score a touchdown on this opening possession. Home faithful now starts to wake up a little bit. They've been kind of quiet tonight. 3rd and 4 from the 9. Youngblood under center, and a whistle will blow the play dead. What's this call going to be? Oh, a timeout. Timeout called on the field by Cecil Flo and the Parkview Panthers.
Each team is allowed 1 timeout per series.
So that'll be the only timeout Parkview can have, of course, in the first overtime. Walton has not played an overtime game this year. Parkview has. They went into triple overtime with Central Gwinnett in a ball game they lost 30-27. They went into that overtime affair at 24 apiece. Both teams had field goals in the opening overtime. Parkview had a field goal attempt in the 3rd overtime that was blocked, and then Central won that game on the very first play of that next possession, with a field goal winning at 30-27. Again, the winner, right now it's looking like will face the Wolverines of West Forsyth. That is, if the Wolverines can hold on into the second round of the state tournament. And we want to take this opportunity to remind you, we'll see you next week here on the Play On High School Sports Network as we'll continue our coverage of the GHSA Tommy Gillibo State Playoffs. 3rd and 4. Man in motion. Handoff. Vereen plowing his way through the offensive line. Past the first down mark, and they'll spot him at the 2. Shaq Vereen with a great combination of speed and power.
Jordan Borster, among others, on the play. First and goal from the 2 for Parkview.
And of course, if you're a football novice, whatever Parkview does on this drive, Walton must do offensively that or better to continue the ball game. Or, well, they'll have to match to continue it. Parkview wants the 6. Handoff. Vereen scores! He was hit initially by a defensive man and ran into an offensive lineman. But he keeps his feet and his wherewithal and scores a touchdown. But of course, if you're an expert of high school football, let's watch the all-important extra point. Stevenson. The snap, the ball down, the kick on the way, and it is good. 14-7, the Panthers out in front now. On the 2-yard touchdown run by Shaq Vereen.
A chance to tie it up.
So now Walton knows what they need to do. They have to have 7. Again, forgive me for explaining this if you're a football expert, but for the novice fans in the room, if Walton does not get 7 here, Parkview advances to the second round of the state tournament, where they've, been a time or two. Parker McLeod, number 12, will lead the Walton offense out there. Will this be the last time Parker takes snaps for Walton, as he'll be at Alabama next year? DJ Smith to the near side, tries to turn the corner, and not only can he not turn the corner, but he'll lose at least a half yard. Well,
no gain.
All spotted at the 16.
Looks like he may have lost a yard.
So many players on this Walton team that came into 2012 thinking of completing that mission from 2011 when they were a state runner-up, where they may have felt that nothing less than a state championship would do. McLeod in the shotgun with 4 wide receivers, takes the snap. No pressure. Fires into the end zone where he's got a man on isolation coverage. Caught for the touchdown by DJ Smith. A tremendous pitch and catch. We were begging for offense in quarters 2 and 3, and now we're getting it in the fourth quarter and overtime. Timeout called by Walton as Rocky Hidalgo rips off his visor, doing his best Steve Spurrier impression as he did not have the right field goal team out there. Mercy.
Walton calls a timeout.
16-yard touchdown. Parker to Smith. But now the all-important extra point. And when I tell you I've seen this happen before, it's tough to watch kids after a missed extra point in this situation. Here we go. Snap, ball down, kick on the way. And it is good. Price drills it home. And we're going to double overtime in Marietta.
Walton gets the ball first here on the second possession.
Mercy. 14-14 in overtime. And again, remember, if watching it's not enough for you folks, and you want to get in on the action, get in on the conversation about high school sports, you can follow all the action on Facebook and Twitter at Play On Sports, hashtag GHSA Football. And for all the live scoring and highlights of all the games that Play On Sports is covering tonight and tomorrow and throughout the next 4 weeks of high school football playoffs, go to playonsports.com/football playoffs. Walton going to have possession first here in the second overtime period. Stone Romberg over to the top side. They're still making substitutions. Boy, they better hurry. Eric Smith, the offensive lineman, came running out there quickly. Man goes in motion. Parker going to hand off to DJ Smith. DJ looking for daylight. Still on his feet. DJ Smith stumbling and bumbling down to the 2-yard line. They may give him the one, and boy, DJ almost had it.
Scratching and clawing his way to the one.
If this wasn't field turf, DJ Smith would have brought up some dirt there. First and goal at the 1. Walton rushes to the line. Parker comes under center. McLeod the snap. Handoff. DJ makes a good move on 2 defenders, and they'll drag him, maybe drag him down, and finally his forward momentum is stopped, and the officials will blow it dead.
They're going to mark him short.
Boy, oh boy, look at that spot by that far official. He'll be about 1.5 feet shy of the end zone. Surely we've got new viewers tuning in from around the state as people no doubt are seeing, oh my, look at that, Walton and Parkview are in double overtime. I got to tune into that one. Thanks for joining us here on the Play On High School Sports Network. I'm Chris Mooneyham, and this is a handoff that is stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Justice Bailey on the carry, the senior.
Maybe lost a yard.
Oh boy. Third down coming up. Well, if you are in fact tuning in right now, yes, it has been a wild one. Parker McLeod, the future at Alabama. Steps, takes the snap, rolling, still looking, floats one into the corner, incomplete. Fourth down coming up.
Parker McLeod's pass is
and now you absolutely have no choice but to go for 3. How big is the play a couple of plays ago for the Parkview linebackers to make that tackle on DJ Smith? Price now. Ball going to be spotted at the 9. A 19-yard field goal attempt. Down, on the way, and good.
Puts the Raiders up 17-14. Parkview with the ball when we come back.
19-yard field goal for Price. And so Parkview now knows what they must do. If they can punch this one into the end zone, they'll be moving on. If Walton stops them from scoring, we'll play on. Parkview drills home a field goal. We'll also play on. Youngblood hands off to Rosser. Justice gets to the corner. 10, 5, touchdown! Celebration on the visitor sideline. Watch them pour out onto the field. The Parkview Panthers win in double overtime here in Marietta. 20-17. Look at that outpouring of emotion. It'll be a moment they'll never forget. The team with championship pedigree that's fought through so much in 2012 will knock off last year's state runner-up and move on to the second round of the state playoffs. It'll be Parkview versus either West Forsyth or Collins Hill in the second round of the state tournament. We'll take a quick break and come back with our final totals, highlights, and thoughts. 20-17 your final. Parkview wins over Walton on the Play On High School Sports Network. Back on the campus of Walton High School here in Marietta, where if you're just tuning in, where have you been? You've missed quite a moment and quite a scene, quite a ball game here on the campus of Walton High School. If you want to talk about it, follow the action here on Play On Sports. Join the conversation about this ball game and others. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Play On Sports, hashtag GHSA Football. And there'll be plenty to talk about. When it comes to this ball game, it was a wild affair in quarters 1 and 4, and of course here in overtime. The second and third quarters, pretty uneventful to be quite honest with you, but 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter for both teams, a 31-yard touchdown run for DJ Smith, and it was 7-0 at the end of one. Again, the second and third quarters plotting defensive battles. It opened up in the fourth quarter, a 52-yard touchdown run by Justice Rosser, tied us at 7. Couple more big-time mistakes in the fourth quarter by both teams. A fumble recovery for Parkview, a botched field goal for Parkview, and we went into overtime tied at 7. Shaq Vereen opened up the scoring in overtime, the first overtime, with a 2-yard touchdown run for Parkview, the victors tonight. They led 14-7. In that same overtime, in the bottom half of the overtime, if you prefer to put it like that, Parker McLeod hit DJ Smith for his second touchdown of the night, tied us at 14. Then in double overtime, Anthony Price and Walton was forced into a field goal attempt, which he nailed from 19 yards out, made it 17-14. And on the very first play of Parkview's next possession, Justice Rosser goes around right side, follows the big hogs on the right side of his offensive line in Trey Darroween and Trey Malloy, and goes in from 15 yards out to send Parkview on to the second round of the state tournament. As it sits right now, it looks as though they will play West Forsyth, who has about a 20-point lead over Collins Hill in their ball game. So, that one at 45-21 now in the third quarter over at West Forsyth. It looks like the Wolverines are going to go on to win that ball game. Inside this bracket, really quickly, Noonan has already beaten out Covey, and Colquitt continues to lead McEachern 17-10 over in Powder Springs. So, that's your story in this half of the bracket in the 6A classification. Don't know where we'll be next week, folks, but we will continue to join you here on the Play On High School Sports Network. Again, want to remind you, folks, that we're going to be your playoff central for the next 4 weeks. You can see most of the action from around the state here on the Play On High School Sports Network. Tonight we had 30-plus ball games. Next week will probably be more of the same as we start to pare it down from 192. And then, of course, all the way through the state semifinals. 7 teams will be state champions, and we'll take you along the road to the Georgia Dome. For Todd Edwards and Amy Walker, I'm Chris Mooneyham. Thanks for joining us for a double overtime 20-17 Parkview win right here on the Play On High School Sports Network.